Okay, welcome Olivia Smith, aka Milo. Welcome to the Top Times podcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself, so we can share with the audience so they know exactly who we're talking to.
Okay, I'm Olivia Smith. I'm going into my senior year at North Central. This will be my fourth year running track at North Central. I do hurdles and jumps and relays. I do both hurdles races, the 300s and 100s, and I've been doing long jumps since sixth grade or so and just started getting into relays around this time last year.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome. So, how did you first become interested in track and field? Walk us through that.
I would definitely say sixth grade was my opening because, believe it or not, I was cut from the sixth grade team. And that was
Oh,
definitely a big shock to both me and my dad. So he did end up on the phone with the track coach and put me back in. And that was definitely my go to from there.
wow. I'm curious, has that sixth grade coach now seen your accomplishments to date or know
He
how?
has. He has. He's been at Northview and he came to a couple of
Oh,
the
okay.
North Central practices. So I did end up seeing him.
Okay. I know he was second guessing himself after that.
Yeah.
She was like, well, maybe I made a mistake. Yes, you did, sir. Um, after, well, and sometimes being cut like that, is that like, was that a motivational factor for you to be like, okay,
Yeah.
this is my sport and I'm gonna make it go?
It definitely was because I kind of expected to just make it on there. I didn't think there would be any question about it, so that definitely made me wanna know that I needed to do better and try and do better to get where I wanted to be.
Okay. So what real quick, like what's been your biggest inspiration thus far then to really keep you going when it comes to track and field?
I would say my biggest inspiration is just the mental picture I can get of seeing myself on a podium, seeing myself with the medal or anything like that, so just knowing that it's attainable is definitely one of my biggest inspirations.
Nice.
So you mentioned that you do the long and short hurdles. Like, how did these events come about? So you like jumping
I
over barriers and
Yeah.
you like jumping into dirt. How
Sand, coach, sand. Like
sand
the
slash
beach.
dirt for the non-athletes, they think it's dirt. But
Mhm.
how did you discover that, these were this is your flow. This got you going and you wanted to, like you said, paint that mental picture. How did that
I
come
would
about?
say, just some trial and error, honestly, because I wasn't super open to hurdles at first, even though you guys wanted me to and my dad wanted me to, but I was just kind of like, I'm not feeling it. But I think finally just trying it really helped everything. And I'd been working in long jump since sixth grade, so finally getting to high school and really being able to take it seriously made a big difference.
Okay, we'll full disclosure here. Since we get to coach you during the school season, we'll snitch on ourselves.
Hmm.
Now, the thing that I'll say about you is that at least from last season, you probably had the biggest turnaround from season to season of any athlete I've worked with in a very, very long time. And I've been at this, I've coached women's track since 98. So, not to date myself, but I'm saying you've had one of the biggest turnarounds
Hmm.
in one season. And I'm not sure if that was, I kind of feel like the mark was when you surpassed what you ever thought you could do with long jump. I think that gave you the motivation to do that. I could be wrong, but I mean, I think that was the moment you realized you have more talent in you than you ever believed. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
I would agree with that. That 2023 sectionals meet was definitely just really big, and seeing what I could do definitely helped where I got to.
Yeah, and like even with the hurdles, you've come so far with that. You've probably cut off at least a couple seconds in the 100 hurdles. which is
Mhm.
rare. Most people don't chop it up that much. You've shaved a lot of seconds off in the 300 hurdles. I mean, you are the only person I've known to add 2 feet plus in a long jump in one season. Like
Yes.
most people don't do that.
Mhm.
So I'm just saying it's a lot there for you to unpack. What would you thus far? What's been one of your most favorite memories when it comes to track and field?
One of my favorite memories, gosh, I would say probably just things from indoor season, I would say. Like, I don't know if I have anything in particular, but definitely indoor season itself, I feel like is something that really lets me see where I am, and then I get to know my team and see what other people are trying to do for the year. So I'd say indoor season itself just is a big, big core memory for me.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. What would you say would be one of the biggest challenges of being a athlete in track and field?
One of my biggest challenges is just kind of finding a balance for everything. Sophomore year, I really struggled with that, and so I would say sophomore year and freshman year, athletically, and then sophomore year academically, it was really hard to just find that in between. So I know where it is. I know what I need to do now, but it was just really difficult to find that when you have a lot going on outside of your sport.
Mhm. So that leads into a follow-up question when we talk about being a student first and an athlete as well. And so you kind of got into your groove after freshman and sophomore year. What did it take, or what did that look like for you to be able to balance, being in school all day and then going out to practice, being exhausted if you had additional work to do after school? How did you find your niche, and how can that help other athletes who may be struggling with the same thing?
Something that helped me was writing a lot of stuff down, just things that I needed to do, things that I could just see in front of me so I knew what needed to be done. I would say my mom helped me a lot. She was definitely like one of my just biggest cheerleaders, and she would help me with anything in the morning or after school. So things like getting yourself ready, just preparing for the next day. So having everything ready for the next day, and then knowing as soon as you come home from that practice what you need to do to get ready.
Hmm. So you shouted out your dad earlier with calling your sixth grade coach, and your mom making sure you had your plan and strategy ready for the day. Shout out their names. Got to give the parents the credit, but also, how do you feel their support has contributed to your overall success within the sport?
I would say their support has contributed because they were the ones that were driving me places and doing extra things outside of school and even outside of club track. So they're the ones that really pushed me to know that there was more that I had to do on my own and get me to where I wanted to be, because I couldn't have done it like just with what I was given. I had to create things for myself. So they really helped me realize that.
I didn't hear their names though.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna
and
say.
my dad's name is Tim, my mom's name is Kay.
All right. So Timmy K. Smith. Right
Yeah.
on. Well, track is one of those sports where hey, you can have a great day or you can have an off day. How do you, as an athlete, handle your setbacks, your disappointments? Does that fuel you? Like, what is it? How do you handle that?
Something I would kind of tell myself this year, if I ever had an off day or an off practice, is that it's universal and happens to everybody. So the only thing you can do is just know that you are better than that, and that next time is just going to have to be better.
Okay. Does that motivate you to like change workouts at all, or push you a little bit harder in the workout, or while you're
I
training?
Yeah, I definitely think it does, to make me want to work harder because I know that I can be better than what I just was.
Okay.
How do you walk us through your routine and prepare for a big competition?
Usually before a big competition, Um, I watch what I'm eating just throughout the day or the day before. I'll have time with my friends and we kind of go over our goals for the meet. And you can ask Deja, there would be a point on the bus where I would put my headphones on and I would sit back and just not talk to anybody. And I'd have my eyes closed and I'd be like, this is just, it's me time. And I would just go through, I would see myself doing everything that I wanted to do for that day.
Okay, I definitely love that. The
Yes.
whole, I mean, we've talked about this before, though. The visualization, the seeing yourself
Hmm.
where you want to be. Not that you're like at a point where you can only see yourself succeeding and only see yourself doing the things that you really want to accomplish. How has that changed your approach to like your conditioning, your training? Like, let's be honest, it can be boring because track is really about let's get one small thing right, and
Hmm.
you're working the whole practice to get this one small thing right. Um, how do you keep yourself motivated? And in terms of doing that, how do you keep pushing yourself?
I would say I want to be successful in the future. So I know that whatever I'm doing in the moment is going to help, whether it's repeats or block starts or just anything like that. I know that the coaches are having us do it for a reason. So I just tell myself that whatever that reason is, I am going to see it later on down the road.
Okay.
One thing that I will say again, our bias, we know Milo very well. We work specifically with her at event group. And so um, you can tell that even if Milo is thinking, why are we doing this? She is very positive and and everyone from the team feeds off of that. So what do you think um, are some characteristics for an athlete to have? Like what are some characteristics that make you the it girl or the it guy or the it athlete?
I would say be open minded, that you're not going to like everything that you're handed, but you have to go with it anyway. Um, be a risk taker, go into hurdles and long jump, even if you don't want to, because you never know where it's going to take you. And definitely just be, what's the word? Not respectful, but I'm trying to think of the word that like crosses between open-minded and respectful, but just know that your coach is like, they know what they're doing. So there is a purpose for it.
All right. So is that what do you think sets good athletes apart from great athletes?
Um, I would say their coachability, that they're open to new things and they want to try new things and they want to be there because it's something that they are interested in, and it's something not necessarily that they like, but something that they're willing to work for.
Absolutely. I'm like, give me an athlete that you can coach any
Yeah.
day. They believe in it and you are that. Even
Yeah.
if you doubted it, you believed in it. You trust your training, you trust your coaches, and that has helped you to be successful. What does success look like for you?
I would say success to me is waking up knowing that there's still things you can improve on no matter how good you're doing. And the fact that you're acknowledging that is, I would say, successful within itself. It's not always just medals and crossing a finish line first. I would just say it's knowing that there's always the small things that you can do. And once you get those small things done, then you're successful.
Nice. So tell me this. You've won stuff before. How do you celebrate? Like what does that look like for you? Is that
Um,
cotton candy and soda, or what are we doing when we celebrate? How are we partying when we win?
Mhm.
Usually I will text my mom at that point. My dad's usually there, so he already knows. Um, and then the next day, I usually go around and tell people, "Hey, guess what happened last night? Hey, guess what I did at my meet last night?" Just because I like talking about track and I like talking about what I've done.
Okay, cool.
Mhm. So one thing that I lean on Milo. Like Milo is one thing that is not my mission. um, is my ministry, excuse me, knowing everyone's name. And so one thing that I know I can lean on and say, Milo, okay, what's this person's name? But to piggyback off of that, like how you engage your teammates, how you engage other teammates, how do you view your competitors? Because I do see you always running around, cheering, your teammates on, even from club team and people you don't even know. So how do you view, we can tell you're nice, but what are you, and you genuinely want people to be successful, but how do you, when you step on the line, getting ready to run a race, or you get on the runway to take off to jump your best, how do you view your competitors in those moments?
I view them just as competition. I definitely still respect them as people and know that they're also hardworking individuals, but we're in at the end of the day, we're all there to try and win. So I know that they're also kind of viewing me the same way. So we all have to just put our best foot forward, but also just be happy for one another. But I do want to see myself win every now and then and beat them if it's someone I've been in a rivalry with. So I do appreciate them and what they do to push me to be better, because I know that some people I also push to be better, but at the end of the day, I do want to beat them.
That's awesome.
I was gonna say you out here being nice. Don't be try to pull this modest stuff like, yeah, I like to win every now and again. You want to win every time. Let's just keep it
Right.
100. So,
Well,
and at times you don't. So you have to temper yourself. But um, you have like a broad range of talent. So you're pretty sharp in the 200. You're pretty sharp in the 300 hurdles, 100 hurdles, long jump. 100, you run a 4x1, I mean 4x4. What do you see, how do you see you down the road in terms of, because you have a range here, right? So you can do nearly anything on the track. If you can run hurdles and long jump, you can pretty much do anything on the track, with the exception of pole vault. um but
Right.
yeah, but so how do you see yourself, what do you see down the road, future, what are you open to, next level wise?
Next level wise, I definitely know I want to continue running and jumping in college. So I'm definitely open to looking at all kinds of places and what would be a good fit for me, not just athletically, but academically as well. And I would definitely be open to trying new things in college, like specifically sticking to multi events or specifically just hurdling or anything like that. So down the road, I definitely see this still continuing.
Yeah, because I mean, you've triple jumped, you've run 400 hurdles, so you're pretty solid on everything you try.
absolutely. So they know, we've already bragged on being your coach during the high school season, but you also talked about club team. What club team do you run for? And shout out your coaches as well.
Soka Speed Track Club with Coach Val and Coach Vic and Coach James.
Awesome, awesome.
Okay, good deal. And you've been with them for how long?
Since going into my sophomore year.
Okay, good deal.
What are some things you, if at all, that you've had to sacrifice? Because again, you share stuff with us and you're able to balance, right? And you
Mhm.
have fun, but even in that, there's still some things that you sacrifice. What does that look like, and who do you surround yourself with who can understand the sacrifices that you make or have to make for the sport?
I would say some sacrifices I've had to make is just, I wouldn't say giving up, but putting off some things with people because it's, I've got practice or I've got to meet or I have to rest or whatever it is. So I would say there's definitely some things I've said that I can't come to just because I'm putting my sport, I don't want to say ahead of that, but ahead of that. And a lot of the people that understand that, I would say, are my friends on the team and the friends that I do surround myself with, because they know that I'm a runner and they know that it's important to me. So if I have to tell them I can't make something, they're not mad about it. They do understand.
And how do you maintain that balance, like with friends, outside stuff, and then athletics?
I would say putting aside time for every single one, just knowing that there is a way to balance all of it. So it's just finding that and starting to find that. Um, I'll still make plans with my friends and everything during the season, but it definitely dies down after February has started. And it's not like how it is in August to December or anything like that when we're not necessarily training as rigorously.
Okay. Well, now you've competed on various levels, right? So with the club, you have the club, school. How do you handle like the pressure of competing in those bigger competitions?
Um, I kind of just remind myself that everyone is nervous and it's not just me, that everyone's running on the same track in the same conditions, and that if that I know that I can do good, and cuz I do get nervous pretty easily, so I have to tell myself that it is okay, that like I will be okay.
You know, people used to say, tell me with butterfly, you have butterflies in your stomach because you're getting ready to fly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, when you're nervous, that's when you know you're really ready, you're prepared to perform. That's
Mhm.
part of the performance process is being nervous. When you're not nervous, is when some
Yeah.
mess
That's when you
happens
make
and
the
then
coaches nervous.
yeah, well, when you're not nervous, you get into a situation where you do something to make you nervous, right? So
Mhm.
that would be like oh, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling great, and say you're like for me, I remember football was a big thing as well as track, but when football, if I was like, oh yeah, I'm not nervous, and I go out there and the first time I touched the football playing running back, I fumbled. Oh, okay, well let me get myself together. I had to bring it all back. So nervous, there's nothing wrong with nerves. And that's usually that's a precursor for performance, you know. That's how you know you're gonna be able to perform well is because you're nervous. So don't that's not a bad thing, being nervous.
Mhm.
What do you think sets like good athletes apart from great athletes?
um I would say the way that they compose themselves and what they're already bringing to practice. Even if you're not the fastest person on the team or you are the fastest person on the team, it's what you're bringing from outside of that that shows that you're either willing to work or willing to be coached, and you're still trying at what you're doing.
So, technology can play a huge role now. Like, everybody's pulling up their phones or they're doing video recordings. How has that helped you with your overall performance analysis, or if you use technology at all to study your craft or study, techniques and things like that?
I would say video recording has definitely helped me a lot. That wasn't something I did too much my freshman year, but I've definitely just ramped it up a lot more. I've been asking my dad to record more, some of my friends to record more, even if it's at practice or it is at a meet, just because I know that if it's something I thought I did good in the moment, I can go back and know exactly what it was to make sure that I do it again.
What's the most valuable like coaching advice you've received?
I would say something from my middle school cross country coach that he said was, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And I feel like I've heard Coach Sean maybe say that before, but I just really like that quote, and I think it's just a good thing to and remember and just live by.
Okay. Now you said the tough get going. So what keeps you going in terms of like physically, mentally, injury prevention? How do you maintain? What do you do to keep yourself together?
I definitely try and get enough sleep. There were periods of time was not getting near enough sleep, and I could tell it was definitely affecting what I was doing. Um, I typically eat pretty healthy. I have a decent sweet tooth, so that does play a role sometimes, but I make sure that I am eating what I need to be eating. During practices and stuff, I just remind myself that whatever we're doing in the moment is going to help me cross the finish line in whatever seconds time faster. and I make sure that I'm keeping up with myself academically, so it's not playing a role in practice, that I'm not worried about anything I have going on. It's not affecting my performance.
Okay. Oh, give me a one of the things that like in the most unexpected lesson you got from being an athlete.
The most
Like
unex
like I didn't expect to learn that from that. Like that type of situation. Like what was something that kind of happened to you, happened with you that you like took away and you were like that was like now I know, or it's kind of one of those situations.
I would say maybe just three stepping for the first time at that um like that Wabash sprint showcase meet in early February. When I just came out the blocks, and even though my time wasn't great, it was still knowing that I did what I needed to do. So that was definitely a moment where it was like, oh, that's what it was, and oh, now it's clicked.
Good, 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 good.
Yeah, that was your aha moment. If,
Yeah.
if if there was one thing you could change about track and field, what would it be and why?
I would change that all states have triple jump, because it is kind of
Yes.
odd that we don't. I would also change something, jumps, that all the boards are universal, just because I think it's easier, not particularly for me, but just for everybody, that they should all either be the really big boards or the really small boards, so we can just adjust.
Love it. I love
Yeah.
both of those.
Yeah, I love that one too.
Yeah.
We'll get this meat going ahead and throw that in there just for the for the
Yes.
sake of it, you know?
Yes.
Hmm.
In terms of like how do you feel like your school in particular, the level of support that the track and field program gets? What are your thoughts on that?
I actually thought about this the other day. I don't know how I really feel about it, because I feel like there could be more to it, that our stands are the stands that we're getting redone for our football team are completely packed, but when it comes to a track meet, those same stands are particularly deserted, and you don't see much other than the parents there. So I feel like we should get a little more recognition for what we do, but it is talked about decently somewhat. I just think it could be a little more, and it could merge up to what other sports get.
Well, that's actually I think that's a universal issue in
Mhm,
terms of in the United States with track and
mhm.
field. Like there's not even if you go to most colleges, they don't have a ton of stands. I
No.
mean, the thing is America's a football, basketball country because we even struggle with those other sports like soccer and track in particular. Because if you go, you sell the Olympics, those stadiums over there, they build stadiums for track.
Right.
You've seen the Diamond League meets, they're all over Europe, but those people are there, they're packed. And so I don't know if we have a full appreciation in the country. So it's not that's more of a universal issue, I think.
Hmm.
And then some schools, like colleges, even cut their programs because they're not like what they call a revenue generating program, like football, you have the tickets and then people are going to be captivated for so many hours. In addition to they're going to be buying alcohol and food and everything else
Hmm.
where because they're out of their mind while they're at a game, right? And people don't really know what to maybe watch in a track meet or how to watch a track meet, how to fully
Yeah.
participate. Like, what's that going on down there? Well, that's pole vault, and that over there, well, that's high jump. But what's they're not really well versed. So I think that may be part of the problem too.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's a good point, like how it's not universally, it doesn't bring in revenue, but how many more people would perhaps participate in the sport because you need running for every, I'm pausing to make sure, majority of sports, I'm like thinking of like fence where you scoop. But how many more younger athletes would become or possibly become more interested in track versus everybody's gonna play football and basketball and
Hmm.
just how track is an individual sport. So it's all about how far you jump, how far you throw, how high you jump in your time, right? There's nothing and how that contributes to overall team score or relay. And so I think th- that's a different type of mental strength that people don't realize is a part of the sport. And when you talk to people who don't really know about it, it's like, oh, they didn't need warm up for the 100-meter semis in the Olympics. They needed warm up.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that, I don't know, my theory just kind of is it's not as introduced to younger kids you because like you just said, track is more of like an individual thing. And when you have a 4, 5, 6 year old, you want them to have those life skills of communication and teamwork and everything like that. So you put them in soccer and you put them in baseball and you put them in softball so they know what it's like to work with other people and not be by themselves. Because I was a soccer kid. I'll say it. But I definitely think that it could be something that's given more of an option to kids, not just for the more what's the word?
The out front sport of the.
Yeah, not just to advertise it more, but just so they know that this is an option.
Well, Milo, if people want to follow you on this journey,
Hmm.
because it's about to be a real journey here in a minute,
Yes.
how should they get in touch with you? How should they follow you? Where should they follow you at?
I have an NCSA profile, and my track Instagram is linked on there. I usually prefer emails on there, and that's probably the quickest way to reach me.
Okay. And for other people just following along, do you have like Instagram where you want people to follow you?
Yeah, I have my track Instagram,
Go ahead and give us a shout.
which
Shout it out.
is it's at Olivia.Smith.25_ because a lot of the other Olivia Smiths were taken, so I had to put several
Mhm.
things in there.
Okay, well, we'll post it underneath the video
Okay.
so everybody knows. And we'll go from there.
Yes. Any last or something you would like to leave somebody that's either thinking about the sport, currently in the sport, maybe transitioning because they just, what's something you wish someone would have told you about the sport that you want others to know?
That you're not going to start out the fastest and you're not going to end the fastest either, because there's always going to be someone ahead of you some way. So I would say just use that as your motivation to know that you can probably beat them and you can make yourself better.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Milo, for sharing your experience, your expertise with us. And we are hopeful that this will inspire another Milo out there who was a little apprehensive about long jump and hurdles, but they
Hmm.
trusted the process and found their sauce. It's
Yep.
Cool. All
Thank you
right.
guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Milo.
you.